Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. My throat's not feeling the greatest today in this cup. My name is not Dwayne The Rock Johnson. This is not my piss. This is like water with like a vitamin C packet that I put in there to hopefully fix my ailment. So just don't even mind that. Hopefully I won't have to go to that too much. But yeah, my throat is feeling not the best, but I'm gonna try to get through the show because I've made this commitment in my life. All right, let's get into the first topic. The Boys season 4. We got the official trailer, and yeah, I think it looks great. We got some looks at some new characters, like some lady, some like red-haired lady who seems to be like on a Homelander's team. What was some of the other new characters? I'm trying to remember. Actually, I think she was the only new character. But yeah, she's on Homelander's team, and I say team because this is really setting up some sort of like Civil War scenario. Although I guess it's kind of what The Boys has always been. But I don't know. I guess it just feels like things are really coming to a head where it's like the boys are no longer like fighting Vought on the sidelines. It's like the country now sees what Vought really is. You know, they saw Homelander kill that guy, and now there are people that are just straight up like, yeah, no, I'm with that. It wasn't the PR disaster that, you know, they thought it was going to be. So you got like half of America against Vought, then half of America that's like pro Vought, and all that. And now it's coming to a head to the point where like you see in the trailer that Butcher is fighting the stretchy guy, and he froze his arm and then shattered the arm, and it's like, damn. Like it feels like we really are just coming to a head where like superheroes are now just probably going to get killed in the season, like straight up. So I don't know. It looks really good. It looks like more of The Boys. You know, every time I get into a new season of The Boys or a new The Boys thing, I kind of go into it with like the attitude of like, okay, I feel like this has gone on maybe enough. Like I'm gonna watch this, but I feel like that might be overstaying its welcome. It's like I said that when I started watching The Boys Diabolical, and then as I was watching that, I was like, oh no, wait, this is actually really good. And then I said the same thing when I started watching Gen V. Then I was like, oh wait, no, this is really good. I said that during like season 3 of The Boys, and I was like, oh no, I'm watching this and it's still great. So it's like I do feel like I still do have that feeling, like I can't get it out of me. Like I'm going into season 4 of The Boys of like, I'm gonna watch this, but it kind of feels like this is where it should end. So we'll see, because they're not stopping with season 4, I don't think. I think we're going to get more seasons of The Boys, and we're getting another season of Gen V. We're getting, like, The Boys Mexico as well. So we'll see how long they can sustain this thing, but this trailer, at least, pretty nice, or whatever. Oh, as far as new characters, also, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. There you go, there's a new one. He's playing some kind of government operative that's like, we need you, Butcher. We need you to take out the superheroes or whatever. All right, next trailer. We got an official trailer for The Acolyte. My apologies for not formatting that picture correctly, but yeah, I don't know. This trailer is interesting in the sense that I'm just not. Something about this trailer just isn't, or about the show just isn't grabbing me. Like, I don't think it looks bad necessarily, and I definitely think that this second trailer is better than the first. But it's just not grabbing me. And I can't really put my finger as to why, but there's just nothing about it that's making me go like, whoa, my God, whoa, I can't wait. I don't know. It's weird. I'm hoping that I watch the show and I become engrossed in the show, and it's just like a good show. Because I will say, I think I felt this pretty similarly to Andor, where it's like, I don't think the trailers for Andor made me like, oh my God, this looks incredible. And then, you start watching the show, and it's a bit of a slow burn, but it's just a very engrossing show. So hopefully the same can happen for The Acolyte. But yeah, obviously the reception to it online has not been kind. It's been getting like ratioed as far as like the like to dislike ratio on both trailers. So yeah, hopefully this can turn out to be another Andor and not another Obi-Wan. All right, next trailer. So there's a trailer for this Netflix Nextworld, and it looks horrible. So you can go look up the trailer for yourself, but this is basically like Netflix partnering with Roblox. And so they're like games inside of Roblox that are like there's like a Rebel Moon game, I think like a Stranger Things game, a Cobra Kai game, and it looks absolutely disgusting. I don't understand Roblox. I'm scared of Roblox. Every time I see it, I'm just disturbed. I don't understand why Netflix would want to partner with them. But they have. So this is Netflix's next big step into gaming, I guess. I don't know. It is what it is. All right. Now let's get into our first news story. So it looks like the Logan in Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be a new variant and is not going to be the guy from the Fox X-Men movies. So, this is coming from Empire. I said, let me give you a piece of advice, Hugh. Don't come back, Kevin Feige recalls. You had the greatest ending in history with Logan. That's not something we should undo. But it seems this won't be the exact same Logan we've met in previous X-Men movies. Correct, says Feige. And after a long drive, Jackman decided that another take on the character was exactly what he hankered for. So yeah, when we watched the trailer, a lot of people were like theorizing that this was a prequel to Logan and that we were like gonna see what happened to the X-Men, right? That caused Logan to be in the state that he was with Patrick Stewart, with Charles Xavier, and like all the other X-Men being dead. We kind of thought that maybe we were gonna see that happen in the movie, but it seems like it's just not even really gonna be a factor here. This is just a completely new variant, and I think that that's probably for the best. I mean, yeah, like when it comes to Logan, you probably just shouldn't touch it. Probably just shouldn't touch that storyline. You really should just leave it as it is. I think that's for the best. Would it have been maybe interesting, right? To maybe see like the lead up to Logan? Sure, but like I don't think that Deadpool 3 is like the avenue to like properly explore that. But yeah, we will see what happens in the future. And so the other Deadpool and Wolverine thing was that so I don't know if I feel like, I think this was like in like hidden inside of the Empire magazine thing. So I couldn't find like an article with it, but I took a picture of this like without like going into the paywalled article. But so I took a picture of this tweet here, and it says Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were asked about their futures as Deadpool and Wolverine in the MCU. Ryan, I'm very nervous talking to you. Hugh, I've never been so scared of what's coming out of my mouth. So just an interesting little bit there. It seems like maybe Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are going to come back as these characters, and yeah, I think that I don't think this is going to be the last that we've seen of them. I think we're going to see them in Avengers Secret Wars, because I feel like everybody's going to come back in that movie. Like Avengers Secret Wars is going to kind of be like the Spider-Man No Way Home, I feel like, of every Marvel property ever, where I think we're probably going to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I think we're probably going to see a bunch of, the mainstay MCU heroes. I think we're also going to see a bunch of the Fox characters come back for that film. So yeah, I think they are going to come back. I don't think they're going to be mainstays in the MCU going forward, but I do think they are going to come back for Secret Wars. But that's just my prediction. We'll see what happens. All right, next up. Giancarlo Esposito has confirmed straight up that he is going to be in the MCU. So this is coming from Collider. During a panel on the Thunder stage at CCXP, Giancarlo Esposito revealed that he will be appearing in a Marvel project, but not in the role many fans have laid out for him. After being cast as Professor X from the earliest whispers of mutants making their way into the MCU, Esposito says he'll play a different role, teasing that it's coming sooner rather than later, and better than you can imagine. So yeah, I guess so. He's not going to be playing Professor X. I think that probably means he's not going to be playing Magneto either. I don't know. That's just kind of my guess is that that's not going to happen. Um, if only just because I think Marvel at this point needs to just not be as controversial. Although that's not stopping them with like the Fantastic Four, where they're like casting like a female Silver Surfer and like a race swapped Mr. Fantastic. So I guess they don't really care about that, which honestly I think is totally fair. But but I don't know, like making like a Black Magneto, because that is going like a step further, because then you have to be like, okay, well, are we going to change the Holocaust origins and whatnot? And then there's just a whole bunch of stuff with that. But yeah, as far as who else he could play, I mean, honestly, anybody, like, I don't know, Mr. Sinister. Maybe he's not even an X-Men role. Maybe he's playing, I don't know. Maybe he's playing Ghost Rider. I honestly have no idea. I think he could play any villain. I think he could play like a support character if he doesn't want to play a villain. Could he play like a superhero at this point? I don't know. At least not one that I can think of off the top of my head. Again, like somebody like Professor X would be great. I think somebody like Magneto would be great. But I don't know. I'm just quickly just trying to think of who else he could maybe play that's like a hero character. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. But he's a great actor, so I'm sure they'll put him in something good. We shall see. All right, next up. We finally got the reveal of the Superman costume in Superman Legacy. So let's pull up the full picture here. So I see Superman here. He's putting on a boot and whatnot. And so this picture is kind of interesting. I personally am not somebody that gets like super passionate about costumes, right? Like anytime that like whenever people are talking about like MCU costumes and they're like, it's over designed, there are too many lines on it, I'm just like, okay, sure, if you say so. And that's kind of the same way that I feel about this suit. I'm like, I think it looks fine, but I also can't say that like I love any Superman costume. I'm just like, I don't know, it's Superman. the costume just isn't something that I get super passionate about. So like I know people really dislike that he has like a collar. I think the collar looks fine. People dislike, I guess I'll go into the more zoomed in version. Let me pull it up. People don't like that it's textured or something. If you can kind of see the lines on his shoulders and on his knees. I don't care. I think that looks fine as well. I don't know. I don't understand why people are so perturbed by the suit. It is interesting that we can't really see if he has the trunks or not. Again, I'm ambivalent towards trunks. I'm like, you could have it. You can also not have it. I don't really care. Like, I don't know. I think it looks fine. But again, I don't like really get super passionate about superhero suits. Like, as long as it's not like terrible, right? You know? Like as long as it's not distractingly bad, I don't really care. So I think this looks fine. I was surprised by it though. I kind of just thought it would be a little brighter, you know? I thought it was going to be more Christopher Reeve, because it honestly doesn't look that different to me than the Henry Cavill costume, as far as like the muted colors goes. So I don't know. I think it looks fine. Other interesting things about it, I've seen people being like, "Oh, he looks so depressed because he's sitting down and he's putting on his boots while there's action going on outside." And I'm just like, "What are we, what are we talking about?" It's like this is a like a still image. For all we know, the laser was shot, and in a split second, he's putting on his boots and he's gonna run out there or fly out there. Like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? Like, why is he taking so long? It's like, it's a still image. You have no idea how long he's taking. Actually, what are we talking about? I mean, we're like, he's not smiling. You're like, what? Like, first of all, I will say one thing that I really like about this is that the suit is battle damaged. So clearly he's like recently probably been in a battle. It's like, what? I don't know. Like, I feel like it's weird. The complaints are weird. It's like, I don't know, like if anything, this is kind of like describing a feeling of like Superman might be tired, he might be beaten up, but he gets up and does it anyway because he's Superman. Like if anything, this is like a heroic picture. I don't know. I feel like the complaints are weird. I don't get it. I think it looks fine. You can yell at me in the comments if if you disagree. All right. Next story. Let's talk about Chance Perdomo. So they put out a picture, like a little message, and he's officially, or his role is officially not being recast. So let's read this here from the producers of Gen V. As we continue to navigate the tragic loss of Chance Perdomo, everyone at Gen V is determined to find the best way to pay respect to his memory. We won't be recasting the role because no one can replace Chance. Instead, we have been taking the time and space to recraft our Season 2 storylines as we begin production in May. We will honor Chance and his legacy this season. Okay, so this is what I think about this. I don't have a problem with them making this move because I can understand that a lot of the cast and probably a lot of the producers as well, they view Chance as a friend. And like I can understand the decision that, you know, maybe they just don't want to maybe they just don't want to work with somebody else in that role. And I can understand that. I can respect that. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody how they should deal with the loss of their friend. It's just not something that I'm going to do. However, I will just say that they say in the little message there that that Chance can't be replaced. No one else can play the role. Actually, let me pull up exactly what they said. It says we won't be recasting the role because no one can replace Chance. I don't really agree with that sentiment necessarily. Like, yes, somebody could replace Chance. I mean, somebody else could play the role. And I don't think that would be disrespectful. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, right? Because, again, I understand that it's an emotional situation. And maybe you just personally don't want to work with somebody else playing the role because it's too emotional for you. That's fine. But, you know, I feel the same way, or I felt the same way about the Chadwick Boseman situation. I think they could have recast the role, and I don't think it would have been disrespectful to Chadwick Boseman. I don't think it would be disrespectful to Chance. So I just want to say that, but at the end of the day, I respect the decision because I'm not gonna sit here and like try and tell somebody how they should pay respects to their friend. You know, it is what it is. All right, next story. We got an update for the MCU slate. So it's coming from comicbookmovie.com. I've been working hard with the studio to reduce output and focus more on quality. That's particularly true with Marvel, Bob Iger said during Disney's fiscal quarter 2 earnings call. We're slowly going to decrease volume and go to probably about 2 TV series a year instead of what had become 4, and reduce our film output from maybe 4 a year to 2 or at the maximum 3. And we're working hard on what that path is. We've got a couple of good films in 25, and then we're heading to more Avengers, which we're extremely excited about. And then this is something here from Empire. It's nice to be able to rally behind one feature project this year, Kevin Feige tells Empire. I'm much more comfortable being the underdog. I prefer being able to surprise and exceed expectations. So it does seem like the last year, which has not been ideal, has set us up well for that. So yeah, I mean, it is just very interesting how candidly they've been talking about the state of the MCU. And yeah, Bob Iger has said in the past that they're approaching the MCU with more of a quality over quantity approach. And now he's giving out direct numbers. He's saying that in the future, we're only going to be getting 2 series a year, as well as a maximum of 3 films a year. Now, it is interesting because in 2025, we're getting 4. We're getting Captain America Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, and Blade. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe one of those gets pushed back. Although he did say that they're slowly working towards decreasing the output, so maybe 2025 is just a year where they're busting the load of projects that were already in development, and then after that point, that's when they put the brakes on. I don't know. We'll see. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if one of these moved, like Blade or Fantastic Four. Would not shock me at all. Don't think it's going to be Captain America or Thunderbolts, just because those are already filming, or Captain America might even be done filming. So we'll see. Also, Kevin Feige's comments about them being the underdog is interesting, because he's not wrong in the sense that the expectation for Marvel is so low that the overwhelmingly positive response to X-Men 97 is, in one part, overwhelmingly positive, because it's we finally gave us some good effing food, as the meme goes. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, this is what we wanted, Marvel, thank you. And yeah, if the movies start picking up, and if like Daredevil is great, the surprise and the response absolutely will be overwhelmingly positive. So yeah, I mean, I do think that is a positive outlook you can have of the current state of the MCU. So we'll see. Hopefully they can capitalize on the moment. I honestly don't know how much faith I have in them at this point, but we'll see. All right. Next up, Galactus has officially been cast. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Ralph Ineson, however you pronounce that guy's name, the British actor whose 3-decade career ranges from the Harry Potter movies to recent horror prequel The First Omen, has landed the plum part of Galactus, the antagonist in Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four. So, yeah, I think this is pretty great casting. This guy is he has one of the best voices in the business. He definitely has a very commanding voice. I would like to hear that voice coming from a giant planet-eating space guy. It is interesting, though, that they got in somebody of this caliber, because it makes me wonder how exactly they're going to handle Galactus. Like, is he just going to be like a giant spaceman? Or is he going to have like a human-like form where he's going to be able to interact with the Fantastic Four in some way? I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle it. But this guy's a great actor, so I definitely am excited to see what he does. All right. Next up, Disney Plus and Max are going to be bundled later this year. So Disney posted this on their own website. Today, Disney Entertainment and Warner Bros. Discovery announced a new streaming bundle that includes Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. Beginning this summer in the US, the streaming services will be offered together, providing subscribers with the best value in entertainment and an unprecedented selection of content from the biggest and most beloved brands in entertainment, including ABC, CNN, DC, Discovery, Disney, Food Network, FX, HBO, HGTV, Hulu, Marvel, Pixar, Searchlight, Warner Bros., and many more. The new bundle will be available for purchase on any of the 3 streaming platforms' websites and offer it as both an ad-supported and ad-free plan. It's cable. I mean, like, we've been memeing about it for years, but we're going back to cable. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, at the end of the day, though, like, at least as of right now, this is going to be a good thing for consumers, because you're gonna be able to get these services at a discounted rate. So I mean, yeah, like, I'll probably end up getting this once it comes out. I mean, like, I don't see why I wouldn't. So I guess that's good. But it's just funny that we are just going back to cable, right? We had a way that the entertainment industry worked and operated, and it was functional. They decided, actually, we're going to change it into something that isn't as efficient, and now they're reverting back. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. I'm sure we'll see other bundles in the future. I wonder if we'll see like a Peacock Paramount Plus bundle or whatever. But yeah, I guess now Marvel and DC are going to be on the same service, which I guess is funny in and of itself. All right. Next up, we got a bunch of information about Batman Caped Crusader. So yeah, let's get into it. The number one is coming from Entertainment Weekly. The number one priority of Batman Caped Crusader was making sure it wasn't just a repeat of Batman the Animated Series. Because by the way, the creator of Batman the Animated Series, Bruce Timm, is back working on this. The best way to do that, they decided, was to make the new show fully a 40s set period piece. James and I are really both big fans, or are both really big fans of movies from that era, so we decided to really lean into that in terms of the clothes, the cars, the architecture, and the level of technology. Bruce Timm says of the new show's setting. Early on, we decided there would be no computers and no cell phones. That changed everything. So yeah, we can look at a couple of pictures here. So we got Batman. He looks very reminiscent of like his original appearance, except he doesn't have the purple gloves. So yeah, I think this looks really cool. And then we already have Jim Gordon. Woke. Yes, he is black. Anyway, let's go back into the article here. The new show characterizes her, Harley Quinn, as Asian American and also separates her from her longtime partner in crime. I co-created the character, so I have a lot of love and affection for her, but I thought there might be something interesting about bringing her on the show. Just not as Joker's girlfriend, Tim says. So how do we do that? A big part was just doing a basic flip. The original Dr. Quinzel was a little bit more serious, and then when she became Harley, she got really goofy and weird. So he thought, what if we reverse that? When she's Dr. Quinzel, she's a bit more whimsical and fun, and then when she's Harley Quinn, she's scary. Instead of abandoning her day job after becoming a jester-themed supervillain, this version of Harley uses psychiatry as a weapon, Tim teases. Rather than catering to the Joker and other criminally insane residents of Arkham Asylum, the Dr. Quinzel of Caped Crusader is a normal Gotham City psychiatrist. In fact, she gets assigned to treat none other than Bruce Wayne himself. In doing so, she gets to experience firsthand the stranger version of Batman that Tim and Tucker wanted to explore. He's a really weird human being, Tim says of Batman. He's not obsessed with his parents' murder, but it changed him in a way where he's still not adjusted to being a human being. He's literally Batman. Inside, that's who he is. Whenever he's Bruce Wayne, that's not just him with a mask off. That's him wearing a person suit. He's trying to pretend he's something that he's not. James Tucker adds, the idea was to keep him so removed that no one knows who he is and no one knows what he's about. We try to wipe out the foregone conclusion that he's a hero, whether it's for the police, regular citizens of Gotham, or the viewers. So yeah, let's look at some more pictures here. We have Harley in her court jester outfit. This looks super dope. And then here we have her as like Harleen Quinzel, right? Here I'm assuming she's facing Bruce Wayne. And yeah, I don't know. I think this is also just a super interesting take on Harley. You know, I know people get super defensive over characters, and they're like, "Oh, you can't change it from the original source material. How dare you make changes to a thing? A thing is different from how I remember it being, so now think bad." I always find that mentality to be just silly and like anti-art. Like, why shouldn't somebody be able to take a property and just go crazy and do their own thing with it? And hopefully people are more calm about this show, because it's the guy who made the animated series. He created this character, so he wants to change it. Who cares, as long as it's good, right? And I just think this is a fascinating idea of Harley Quinn, having more of a dual persona. Her not necessarily being reliant on the Joker for why she went crazy. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to explore. I love like the almost like Sopranos situation that it looks like the show is gonna have, where maybe like I'm thinking, kind of when you look at Tony Soprano and his psychiatrist, maybe Harley ends up going kind of crazy, because of how fascinated she is by Bruce Wayne. Maybe she like gets the sense that there's something off about this guy, and I don't know. Maybe she learns that he's Batman at some point, which maybe drives her to be Harley Quinn. I think that could be really cool. And then we have some other pictures here. This is Selena and Bruce. And then here we have a picture of her as Catwoman. I think is a really fun design as well. I think this is also reminiscent of like what she first looked like when she came on the scene. I don't think she originally had like the leather outfit. Then this last line here, Clayface got a similar retro treatment. Don't expect the shape-shifting mud monster of Batman the Animated Series. So yeah, it looks like it really does sound like this show is going to be very grounded in reality. Like I don't think we're gonna see like supernatural elements, at least just judging by this write-up. And then yeah, here we have a picture of Clayface, and he's not a mud monster. I think he is just gonna be a guy wearing like scary masks. And yeah, I think this is an interesting take on Clayface. I mean, obviously, it makes him like less unique and all that, but I don't know. I think like a serial killer that wears masks in order to hide his identity. I think that could be interesting. By the way, there are also rumors that this is the route they're gonna go for with like Matt Reeves the Batman, and I know that people are kind of upset that Matt Reeves may end up, leaning more into the realism instead of the heightened Batman stuff with like a clay monster and all that. But honestly, in my opinion, I think it's totally fair for Matt Reeves to lean more into the realism, because I would assume that James, or like the DCU's Batman franchise in The Brave and the Bold, like that's gonna be the Batman that is in a more heightened DCU, in a more fantastical DCU. So it's like that guy, right? Whoever's in The Brave and the Bold, that guy should be fighting clay monsters and a Mr. Freeze with a sci-fi cold gun. I think it's totally fair for Matt Reeves in his films to go in the opposite direction, where he's fighting the Riddler, who's just like a Reddit incel character or whatever. And if he ends up coming across a Clayface, it shouldn't be like whatever they do in the DCU. It should be a more grounded character. So I'm totally fine with that version of the character if they want to explore that as well as the show. Again, they already did Batman the Animated Series. I totally respect that they want to go and do something completely different. So we'll see what happens. But next up, Frank Grillo. He is going to be in Peacemaker Season 2. So James Gunn revealed this on Threads, and he had this to say. Pleased to announce the great Frank Grillo will be reprising the role of Rick Flag Sr., the role he'll first play in animated form in Creature Commandos, throughout Season 2 of Peacemaker. Christopher Smith and Rick Sr. have a little unfinished business to take care of. Obviously, you have little pictures there. Got Frank giving James a little smoochy smooch. So isn't that adorable? And yeah, I think this is super cool. James Gunn did say that he's casting the roles with the intention of them going back and forth between animation and live action. And even video games he had mentioned. We'll see where that goes. So yeah, I think this is super cool. Frank Grillo is playing Rick Flag Sr., which is Rick Flag's dad, I would assume, in Creature Commandos. Again, if you don't remember, in the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker killed Rick Flag. So yeah, it would make sense that he would have beef with Peacemaker. So that should be a super interesting dynamic in Peacemaker Season 2. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully Creature Commandos comes out this year and it's really great. I'm sure it will be, just because I think James Gunn does very good work. And yeah, hopefully that'll build a pipe for the return in Season 2 of Peacemaker. I am, of course, just still very wary on how exactly they're going to handle the transition between the DCEU and the DCU, where now we're relying on storylines from the DCEU in order to promote this new DCU with Peacemaker. Like, the storylines are going to be interconnecting in a way where it's like you can't, like, are they like they're basically making content for the DCU that kind of requires you to have prior knowledge of the DCEU in order to really understand it. Also, what is the continuity here? That stuff is confusing. Like, it just is. And like, as excited as I am for any upcoming James Gunn project, that is a criticism that I have as of right now. Like, this is confusing. It's not clear what you're doing. But hopefully it'll be made clear when we actually watch the stuff themselves. All right, let's get into what I've been watching. That's going to be it for the news. I watched Challengers. So this is a film starring Zendaya, as you can see there. She's a tennis player, and I don't know. I went into this movie not really knowing that much about it. Like, I'd seen some clips of it, and, there's, like, that infamous scene where Zendaya's having a threesome with two other guys. And I basically came to know this movie as the Zendaya sex movie. And that's kind of what I went into it. Just thinking about it, I thought it was, okay, this is probably going to be fun. But this movie's freaking phenomenal. I have to say. Is there a lot of sex in it? I mean, yeah. It is a very sensual film. It revolves around like those three characters and their relationships with one another, but it's not like there isn't sex just for the sake of there being sex, like in a gratuitous manner that I feel like a lot of other films handle their sex scenes with. It's like it's all done with a purpose. It's all done to propel the story. It's all done in order to service the characters. So I think it's fantastic. I think that it, like, I don't even want to talk too much more about it because I think it's just kind of one of those movies that you should just go into and watch, especially if you don't know anything about it, just because of all the twists and the turns. Like I honestly wouldn't watch the trailer for it. I think it kind of reveals too much. So yeah, I really loved it. Go check it out if you haven't. All right. I also watched Civil War. So this is a movie about an American Civil War and it's done in such a way where they're not really trying to comment on our current day politics. It's kind of like made up politics where, like California and Texas have an alliance with each other. And it's like, that's obviously what never happened today. But it's really a movie about like photojournalism and the importance of it and the experience of being a journalist in, on the war front. And it's an interesting movie. That being said, it's just not very engaging to watch, in my opinion. I was honestly a little bored. Kind of didn't care for the characters. I thought they were just like kind of bland and annoying. So, and the movie also doesn't really have much to say about our current day politics. So which is fine, I guess. If I'm not saying that you have to be political, but considering that, but like I don't think they do a good enough job of making you care about the war itself, right? And like I don't think they do enough of a good job of like actually exploring even the made up politics in the movie. So it's like I didn't really care about the war itself. It didn't feel tangible to me. I didn't really care about these characters. They didn't feel tangible to me. So just kind of like, okay, this is a movie. And I'm watching it. It's shot well. There are some decently tense sequences, but I don't know. I don't think it's as interesting that I thought it was going to be, and it's not good enough that I can really recommend it. I think it's okay, but I don't think you need to rush out to watch this one. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about today. I watched X-Men 97. This is episode 9, and I actually thought this episode was not the strongest, and it's mostly just because I thought that there were a couple things that just didn't flow as naturally as I would have liked them to. Like, I'll just say that, like, I'll give some spoilers for it. If you haven't seen it, you can just stop watching the video here because it's the last thing I want to talk about. I don't know, like, I thought that Magneto coming back, it just didn't. It's like, I feel like they should have shown. They should have, like, they should have shown him, like, shown exactly how he survived Genosha, I feel like. And there's just like a moment where he just like kind of appears, and then like Rogue and Sunspot immediately join him. And it's not that I understand why those characters would make those decisions, so it's not that it doesn't make any sense. But I don't know, it just feels like Magneto just kind of appears. And I know we saw him trapped on in the last episode, so it wasn't like completely out of nowhere either. But I don't know. I feel like if the episode maybe could have started with like a flashback of how he survived Genosha, and I feel like they could have shown maybe a flashback of him dealing with just the anger that he has that led him to this point. Which again, I'm not saying it's confusing or anything, because I understand. I understand it. But I don't know. I just feel like it all happens too quickly near the beginning of the episode, where it's like, okay, it's Team Magneto versus Team Charles. But I don't know. Other than that, I thought there were some pacing episodes. There were just some pacing issues where I thought it could have flown a bit more naturally. But even with that being said, there were still some fantastic moments, obviously, right? Like, Jean Grey having her big fight with Mr. Sinister, I thought was fantastic. Like even though I don't think it was handled as naturally as I would have liked it to have been handled, I still do like this is still overall like probably the most sympathetic that Magneto has ever been. I feel like where it's like, yes, we have obviously known that he's a Holocaust survivor, but for them to actually show us, for them to actually go as hard as they did with Genosha, and to have that atrocity happen like in real time with characters that we know and love, with like a mutant nation actually being genocided, that the fact that they went as hard as they did in the show, that made Magneto's actions way more understandable, and I'm still not going to justify it, but I feel like I felt like the most amount of sympathy for him and the most understanding I've been of him than I think in any other piece of X-Men media. And it's like, yeah, like I do kind of understand Rogue as well, where, after the loss of Gambit, it's like, yeah, I can absolutely understand her breaking. Sunspot has always been very flip-floppy, so even like, again, I don't know. It just felt a little rushed to me, but I understand it. So it was a little, I felt like a little whiffly waffly watching the episode, where I'm like, this is like simultaneously kind of rushed, but also simultaneously the most compelled I've ever been by Magneto trying to take out the humans. And yeah, and obviously the end battle is phenomenal, and Wolverine like stabbing Magneto was like had my jaw on the floor, and then immediately followed by Magneto taking out the adamantium out of him left me even more shocked and aghast. And yeah, now it's just very interesting to see where the next episode is gonna lead to, because presumably, I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. It's like they're either gonna stop Bastion, and then I guess it's gonna be the fight with Magneto will probably be season 2, or they stop Magneto and then season 2 will be fighting Bastion. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure exactly how it's gonna end up, because either one of them could be very compelling, like primary antagonists of the second season. So we'll see where it goes. But either way, it's a fantastic show. Like like my complaints are very minor, but it's incredible. Yeah, let me know what you think about any and all that I've talked about in today's episode, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.